show of hands, how many people today took their morning medicines and then did something else and then immediately couldn't remember what they did? I still don't know. I still don't know whether I double dose myself. So I get it, man. I get it.
But don't you have one of those good little pill boxes?
I was filling the pill box.
There it is.
It was my weekly time to fill the pill box.
The 9 months that I tried to be medicated, that really was the biggest struggle that I had. And I immediately, but I couldn't just buy a pill box. I had to go onto Etsy and buy cute bespoke ones. And it still was such a pill refill day was the worst because I was like, did I already take it? Because I refilled. Oh my God.
Oh no.
So I feel your pain.
Yep, there it is.
Well, cool.
We're not talking about medication today.
Bummer.
Sorry. We could. We could. Look, too late, man.
Listen, there's a whole outline here that I'm a whole one.
Yeah,
not
you
even
really
just
killed this one.
Abstract thoughts, organized thoughts. We're gonna do our best.
We're gonna do so good. We're gonna do. In fact, let's just bust it. I love this cold open. M dash. Extra credit. Pick a card. We're just going to start this show with just a quick tarot draw to set the tone.
I already pre-shuffled so that you guys don't have to listen to me shuffle and talk about light and love every time. So we're just going to see what our theme for the day is. I've already pre-promised Matthew that I'm going to pay attention this time. Okay. Okay. We had a flyer. I was just about to give up and say, okay, tell me when one decided that she wanted to come out.
Oh boy. Got a flyer. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a flyer.
We had a high flyer, and the high flyer that we had is the Queen of Strength.
Ooh.
Look at her right there. She is doing some queenly things, holding up that staff with the orb, and we've got some fire. We've got a beautiful kind of gate, maybe staircase behind her that maybe she is either ready to ascend or has already climbed up. Who knows? Strength in this suit telegraphs to wands, if we remember, which are all around energy, motivation, passion,
solar power.
What do you see as I hold this darling girl up?
I love that the lattice work on the staircase does not match, but is similar to the seemingly endless lattice work for her corset dress.
Ooh. Drawing some connections there. I love, personally, my favorite part of this card, it's the fully unbothered look on her face. This is a queen who is hydrated in her lane, rested, and unbothered.
Love it. Okay.
So I think that's an interesting energy to bring into today's topic. Oh boy, we're going to talk about overstimulation.
And emotional regulation. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this queen is here to remind us of what happens when you can learn just a little bit of regulation. We're not asking for perfection here. Just a little bit of regulation.
Never. Yeah, just a little check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Yes. So we're going to kind of dive deep into that topic. There are a couple of things out in the world that have happened to and around us that is what spawned this topic. But first, just about 2 years ago, in season 2 of ADHd20, which, by the way, what in the Sam Hill is ADHd20, Matthew?
ADHd20? ADHd20 is a podcast that finds the intersection between ADHD.
It's not like you haven't said it 51 times.
Okay. ADHd20 is a podcast that finds the intersection between ADHD and
TTRPGs.
That's right.
Ooh. Which we've been both ADHDing and TTRPGing a lot lately. Got a little hair in your mouth there?
I did. I have a little hair in my mouth.
I hate that feeling when you're like, it's on me. So we just got back from a trip to GaryCon.
We did.
Yes, dear listeners. We went to both GaryCon and the Myers Cheese Castle.
Hello,
twice.
cheese.
My favorite.
I love how much you love it. Yeah,
I do. I love it so much. I love it so much that I've made Matt pull over a second time. Because I just,
problem.
It's like potato chips. Can't have just one. Stop at the Myers Cheese Castle. And so where this idea for today's topic of overstimulation kind of came from is so GaryCon 2023, picture it.
Yeah.
Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, March 2023. We go to kind of my first NerdCon. I know we've been to like other types of conferences, right?
Right. But this was like a gaming convention. And I would almost say that GaryCon is even above Gen Con, it is the gamers gaming convention.
Yep.
It is the purest of its kind. It is a true return to form. No big flashy things. The focus is on the games.
On the games. And we didn't know shit that year, Matt. We went in, you and me and Fitz, firing totally blind, just like gleaning what we could from the internet and the chaotic but good GaryCon Facebook group. Yes. And because I am an impulse gremlin who is really taunted and tantalized by shiny objects, I thought mistakenly the point of going to cons was to jam pack as many games as possible into a single day. I made it my mission just to see how we could like jigsaw puzzle the schedule and do all of the things. And what happened is
we hurt ourselves.
Yeah. We were exhausted by
it was great, but
day 2. Hurt. Yeah. And so then it was later that year when we went to our first Gen Con that we talked to someone from the Darrington Press team, actually, who said the way to con is to pick one must-do a day. And if you get 2 things done, you're killing it. Yeah. And if you get 3 things done, cool, but like don't hurt yourself.
Watch it. Yeah, but watch it. Yeah.
But watch it. So Matt and I kind of made a fly by the seat of our pants, impulsive decision to go to GaryCon this year without much foresight or planning. And we said, we're going to see what happens when we go and we're chill about it. Yeah. As chill as I can be.
Right. I think we did AK's chill. I think we did a great job. And I felt like I was a part of it. We played 3 games. 2 of those we had never played before, which is always important to me. I did get to congratulate Kelsey Dion of Arcane Library and Shadow Dark. I got to congratulate her on the massive Kickstarter, I think still going as we record this. That is probably up to 2 million, definitely a 1.5 million.
Yeah, I haven't checked in a couple days.
Yeah, it's just so inspiring. She's so inspiring. And what else did we do? We saw a great panel with the Dungeon Dudes.
Yes.
We talked about epic heroes and how to make big bads even badder. We played Cyberpunk for the first time, which is important for another announcement that we have in a second. And we played Dragon Bane, which I loved so much.
Same.
Had a great time.
Yeah.
And then we got fully sold. We bought every single thing from a company called Gooey Cube. We bought every single thing. The most charming salespeople and father-son team we've ever met. Yep. So it was delight. So it was great. Not the most in-depth GaryCon report, but it was great. I like to think of them as the D&D dads, honestly, and the D&D biker pack. It's you'll never see so many strong, portly gentlemen with bald hair and ginormous beards, leather jackets, probably even a leather vest.
Would love to see the Venn diagram of leather daddies and D&D players. Big overlap there.
Dungeon daddies and dungeon daddies, right?
They just
like,
a lot of intersection there. It felt like a little bit of a homecoming for us, though. I feel like Gary Con was kind of like near the beginning of our journey. It was actually the first time we went. We hadn't even named the pocket dimension.
That's right.
And it's always cool to go back and kind of see how like you've leveled up. Like we now know things we didn't know before. We know how to take care of ourselves better. But yeah, we've been talking about leveling up since season 2, and I feel like we were kind of coming into our own con mastery with Gary Con this year.
Very well said, and the perfect segue, of course, because you planned it this way, to when we got back, we had arranged a meeting with Envoy, which is sort of a
third-party game master supplier to the stars. I don't know. Let's put a marketing spin on it. Let's make it sound as sexy as possible.
I don't really either, but it really did remind me of going to get my first New York City apartment.
Yeah. You got to get herded in. Yeah.
You got to get herded in. There are slots. It's really first come, first serve. And their job is they get slot times. They find out what the publishers want to run down to the adventure, the module. So we're not going to have any. Yeah. And then they just find people to get those seats, the GMs, the forever GMs that are just walking around. And it has been my dream, my personal dream, to be a game master at a con ever since Gary Con. So our new friend Vincent from Envoy is
our
making that
name is Vinny, of course it is.
Vinny, of course, Vinny. I think I'm just going to pretend that my New York bookie was also named Vinny, he wore angel wings.
Yeah. Oh.
I know that for a fact. He wore angel wings. Yeah, he wore angel wings every time we had a meeting with him. So, yeah, Vinny was like, okay, because Allison really wanted to game master Daggerheart, which I completely understand. I did too. But he said, well, we have one slot. And he said it in a way that he was afraid he was going to destroy our relationship. But no, it needed to go to you. And so I get to run games in Cyberpunk Red, The Witcher, and so many other ones from Talsorian Games, and I'm beyond excited about it.
Yep. So we'll each be running 5 sessions at Gen Con this year. We'll have Game Master badges. We're big time.
We'll have Game Master badges.
It'll be interesting approaching this as GMs with ADHD, trying to make our tables inclusive and friendly.
Yep.
The thing about these cons to know if you've never been to one is that they are not for the faint of heart, and they are not for the easily distracted. They are not for the impulse gremlins. And so it's an uphill climb because you're literally in a big room with anywhere from, say, 5 to 10 to a convention hall, expo hall's worth of tables of other people talking loudly. And you know what happens. You get a little boisterous and loud when you're playing these games, especially in the big moments. And so there's both the sound to compete with and just make sure that you can kind of stay locked and loaded in your table. But then there's, just like all of the distractions of like people moving and standing and exclaiming and going on break and coming back from break and all of these different things. And as a game master, you're trying to kind of shunt your players through a great experience, making sure that they get a satisfying ending in 3 to 4 hours time. How will we do?
It's going to be a very different experience. Yeah. But I did, to that point, I immediately called up my pal, Nathan. I call him the hardware guy. And Nate and I started brainstorming about the next iteration of a assisted listening device. But this time it'll be just from the game master side, and we'll have a bunch of headphones to help with some of that distraction, and it's going to be so freaking great. Yeah. I can't wait. I am very excited to be given the opportunity.
Yeah, we're super excited about our next con.
So excited. Big next step. So, if you're listening to this and you're going to Gen Con, please try to get... My name is Matthew Bivens, and this is Allison Kendrick. So
unless
just look for
you don't have fun, and then our names are Fiona Fancy Pants.
Yeah, and MacGyver McCracken.
Yeah, exactly. So Great. Well, we'll see y'all there. So I love that each of our topics are like building onto each other today, Matthew.
Keep going. Keep
going.
Stop.
So we've talked about like leveling up and mastery. And then like the big thing that happened. Okay. So one of the reasons that I love taking long car rides, just stay with me here, friends.
Will.
At our first GaryCon, Matt and Fitz, ring. I'm just making the noises myself. Does it work now? Matt and Fitz. Perfect. Nailed it. Crushed it. Said Allison, we know you're not a podcast girly, but you guys would never say girly, but you know what I mean. Said you have to listen to Worlds Beyond Number from Brennan Lee Mulligan, Abria Iyengar, Lou Wilson, and Erica Ishii.
Yeah.
And I started listening, and I am proud to say 2 years later, I am finally caught up.
You're beyond.
I'm beyond
number
you.
Of me.
Worlds beyond number, aka beyond Matt.
Yeah.
It's so good. In fact, I've started recommending my friends who are really into like the fantasy bend with all of the things like Court of Thorn and Roses and Empyrean series. Like if you're into audiobooks, just listen to this and pretend it's an audiobook.
So good.
Because the story is just one of the most compelling things I've ever heard. So 12-hour drive from Charlotte to Chicago. Was like, I'm going to listen to so much of this podcast. So I'm listening in, where are we? I think it's the third season. And I mean, Brennan's GMing and then Abria and Lou and Erica's playing is just on another level. And without spoiling anything, something happened. Lots of things are happening. It's a very crazy time on Worlds Beyond Number. That the characters are taking very, very personally, that are really, really affecting them to their core and just shaking with the world as they know it. And so Abria on the show had her character when they got to a stopping point and the world felt that it was just closing in around her character. In character, she said, she walks off to a quiet space and finds a place where she's not being bothered. And she plays a wizard. So she conjures up an hourglass with 1 minute's worth of sand inside. And she's beautifully describing all of this. And then she says in character, I'm going to give myself 1 minute. I'm going to give myself 1 minute to feel every emotion on the deepest, rawest level that I possibly can. And when this minute is up, I have to carry on. I have to move on with my day. And I just loved that level of self-care. I don't even know what to begin to call it, of compartmentalizing, of recognizing the danger and reaching overstimulation and calling for that timeout that we have talked about so many times before on this show. And I've done that in some capacity when I have, bad things happen to me. I'll say, okay, I'm going to feel bad for this weekend. And then on Monday morning, I have to get up and carry on with my life. But I just, it made me wonder and wish like what a different person I could be if I could learn to rely on that tactic more fully. So on the way to GaryCon one morning, I told Matt about having just listened to this. I was like, we gotta talk about this on ADHd20. Just kind of like the dangers of overstimulation and then like emotional practices, self-regulation tools that we have, begin to build up out in our toolkit. And then right in mainstream media, last week I was scrolling through TikTok, and I am not a Survivor watcher. I do like some reality TV, but I've just never felt the siren's call to watch any of the 8,200 seasons of Survivor.
They're not naked enough.
They're just not naked enough.
They're not afraid enough.
They're not afraid enough, right? No shade to it. This is not me. I'm not yucking anybody's yum. If you love Survivor, I love this for you.
I like it. By the way. Yeah.
And I love watching people's like commentary of it and how like deep into the Survivor lore people get. So like if this is something that you include yourself in this fandom, I love this, and maybe this will be my turning point. But anyways, I was scrolling through TikTok and I am immediately on my TikTok For You page greeted with this video of a very, very young woman, looks like late teens, early 20s, completing a challenge on Survivor, and then what from an outsider's perspective looked like a panic attack.
Right.
There was gasping for breath. There was just kind of like a very affected yell, shaking, and all of these different things. But as I'm watching, I'm like, that's not a panic attack. And I didn't know what it was, but like I knew like that's not what that is. And then as I continued to watch it, what transpired is you see her complete this challenge, and you get the sense that like she has really overcome some kind of obstacle to win this challenge, and it's about mental fortitude and like less about physical. And you see her entire team collapse around her and begin like shaking her and applauding her and you got this, you're so great, and like all of these different things. And the more they're doing that, the more she is like heaving to catch her breath and shaking and become visibly like unmoored. And as you're watching this, you see this kind of visual exchange go down between the host, Jeff Probst, that's his name, right? And suddenly I think it is. And one of the players named Joe. And you're watching them watch each other and then watch her. And without context, it's like, are they judging her for having this big, what looked like an emotional outburst to any passerby? And then Jeff says to Joe, Joe, do you want to go hug her? And you watch him walk her out of this episode absolutely beautifully. And then Jeff kind of says, okay, something obviously just happened and like, let's clarify it. And what I learned by watching this clip is that she was diagnosed as a baby with autism, was told by doctors, her parents were told that she would probably never lead a normal life. You know, her best hope could be to marry somebody else with autism. Like that's a punishment, you know, like all of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And she, you know, overcame all the odds and became verbal and, you know, was mainstreamed into high school, I believe, as she put it. But when she first got to the island and was initially in a tribe with Joe, he's a firefighter and a dad. So I guess she felt comfortable confiding in him and letting him know about her autism diagnosis and what happens when she has these episodes when she gets overstimulated. And so he recognized that was what was happening and was basically trying to like talk her down with his eyes and then like physically had to comfort her. And her whole thing was just lovely around like, she didn't want to be the girl with autism, right? That's why she didn't choose to disclose that to her teammates and to everybody when she first arrived, because she didn't want that to be her whole personality, as I would put it.
Which, to be fair, in different seasons, Survivor would have pegged her that, and that would have been her tear-filled story to the camera every single time. So I get it. Yeah, everybody talks to a camera, and like you said, it's not. There's no shame. She doesn't have shame. It's not. It's not that she's trying to escape the fact that she has autism, but just she felt that there were other things that she wanted to talk about as well. So be known for.
So it was interesting. I then got kind of lost in the comments, and it was interesting to watch the number of people who just didn't understand at a fundamental level what was even happening. As I mentioned, people were labeling it a panic attack. People were, casting judgment on her reaction. And that I definitely clocked, because I am, often told that my reaction is out of sync to the reality of things sometimes, that I might have a bigger reaction than the situation might call for. And I while I don't think I have episodes in the way that she does, I definitely understand very fully the feeling of feeling overstimulated and like, how do you back out of this? Especially because when most people, and they do it out of love, like nobody that was like gathering around her and asking her to breathe and congratulating her and telling her how wonderful she is had an ounce of malice in their approach. They thought, oh gosh, she's just, feeling a lot of feelings, and let's assure, they thought they were doing the right things. Right.
Yeah. Right.
But once you reach that point of overstimulation, there, like, it does become dire, right? It does become, when surrounded by those who don't know how to handle it, like, to walk yourself back.
Yeah.
And so I just thought these two kind of big things, like these two big media things that I consumed in the last week, would make for a cool topic, because I did identify with it so much.
Yeah.
And thought it could just be like a cool way for us to talk through, like, what are the ways that we can set that hourglass? What are the ways that we can find the safe person to tell our story to and make sure we're going to be okay if there's an episode? Like, what does that look like, both around a gaming table, as we've already kind of started to talk about, but then also just like in real life, like what finding that coping mechanism in that safe space looks like.
I love it. And I will start off by saying that neither of us are diagnosed as being on the autistic spectrum. I feel like that's probably a good thing to say. We have been diagnosed with ADHD. Obviously, we've been talking about it for 4 years, but the more that we learn, the more people that we meet, thanks to this show, the more questions come up and the more like,
noticing things.
Noticing things. And I love this.
Yeah. I recently, an influencer that I've been following for the better part of 10 years, that I'm both very alike and also nothing like. She was a contestant on Bachelor, kind of started Charlotte's major like pop culture news source, sold that off to Axios, and now she's moved to California. She's a vegan, which is not my normal energy, but she is a Cancer, so I do identify with her there. And she was recently talking through her autism diagnosis and like was talking through all the questions she had that led her to gaining that diagnosis, and every single one of them was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it really is that feeling of becoming unmoored, that like without a semblance of a plan and an understanding of like what the next steps are, like my brain melts. Like I just fade on out of here.
Yeah. They don't know enough. People, they, meaning doctors, scientists, they don't know enough right now. They'll admit it, that they don't know enough about the brain to be able to say, as I've said many times, I feel like there's going to be some manner of better classification in our lifetime that will help us. Yeah. Because I think they're finding ADHD could be autism. It could be all these different things. Do you want to touch on TTRPGs as emotional practice / self-regulation tools, and why games are so good for neurodivergent brains, which actually is a cool twist to something that we've said. Is like, how can you be more inclusive of neurodivergent brains, but also your statement is why games are good for our brains, and why there are so many people admit to having a neurodivergent brain and play this game. Little did we know that finding the intersection between ADHD was, we thought, oh no, how could that, they're so different. How could they, no, it really is like Reese's. It really, there are some amazing reasons why we would be drawn, and it would be so passion-filled for us.
Yeah.
Structure and rules is inherent in the game, right? You can see behind me, if you're watching this, I have an enormous, beautiful new physical library of structure, of rules, and 10 times more that as in PDF form on my computer. I'll never probably get to all of them, but it is a rule. Yeah, it is a rule heavy thing.
Yeah.
I think you can take or leave that as much as you want. Of course, you can be a rules lawyer if you need that, and you can let some go. But the structure too, tell, what were you thinking when you put down structure?
This is going to sound real goofy, but we've already established that we're beyond that this year. I think for me, it comes down to like emotional safety and finding that safe space to explore. As you've mentioned correctly so many times, there's just so much of the human brain and of our own, especially, that is so like unmapped. And I think I spent a lot of time, again, being told as a child that like my emotional outbursts were too much, over the top, didn't match, like all the things. And so I think when we talk about the structure of TTRPGs, it automatically gives it like a safe space to look at what that means. It's like in the episodes where I talked about, like, it wasn't until Allison, as a player playing a character named Chimerical, understood what rejection sensitive dysphoria was. That became a really safe space because of the structure of the game, because I knew I was safe. Right? When you're playing these games, at the end of the day, like, even though we all do, I think, a great job of being in the moment and willingly suspending our disbelief and connecting as characters and things like that, as we've also mentioned before, you bring a little bit of yourself into them. So I was able to explore and kind of push on the boundaries of that. Like, why am I feeling that way? Why am I suddenly feeling rejected when nobody rejected me? Nobody said anything mean to me.
Yeah.
At worst, I got a neutral reaction from people. Why am I taking that so personally? And I think it's because I knew I was in a structure. I was Allison in a game with people who love her, right? And so, whereas when I'm just like Allison out in the wild exploring my own neurodivergence, like, that's not a safe space to explore that all the time. I can get lost. Do you remember the movie from the 90s, Robin Williams, What Dreams May Come?
Yes, I do. I do remember that movie. I feel like I was one of two people that saw it.
I loved
you're the other one.
I did. Yeah, hello, I'm the other one. Hi. No, I mean, I was in high school when that movie was released, and I remember watching that movie and feeling like this is way too big for me to understand. Like this, like I shouldn't be. But I also remember like it unlocked something in me, of like, and just that kind of like falling through the different levels of like her mind and what hell must be like and purgatory and all these different things. And that's the danger of it, right? Like we could go in here and we could not come back out the same.
Right.
But you put the structure of a TTRPG on it, and suddenly it does become a little bit more of a sandbox to explore.
Because I can take all of these things that I consider hard, that Matt considers horrible, and I can put them in a game where, like you said, it's a safe space. It's a sandbox that you can play with, and you can experiment. You can punish. You can fight. You can communicate with these things that are really hard for you.
I mean, maybe also just from like a very basic level, like I think, even though I know I need structure, right? I like that tends to be my problem a lot of times, is that like when I'm at my worst, when I'm kind of like free falling, and if I just put like a little bit of structure, but like for me, obviously the lack of executive function, the like, the need to be spontaneous and impulsive, like these are just two bulls fighting inside of me at all times. And maybe there's just something to like, there is structure, but it's a game. Like I've even gamified the structure, right? So it feels fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, that so the structure is the game, but then within the game, you can be as dysfunctional executively as you need to be. I never thought of that. Yeah, it's totally true.
Yeah, because it was weird for me too, writing the words like structure and rules, because I wouldn't say that I, like, as a person, when you think Allison, you think structure and rules. I need a plan. I don't necessarily need a structure.
Right.
And I think those things are different in my brain. I'm just now realizing.
Sure. I also like you put down turns and pacing. So that's time, relationship with time, which is tough.
Yeah. It's relationship with time, and like, I think it also goes back to RSD. Like everything for me goes back to RSD these days of like, am I being enough? Am I being not enough? Like I'm constantly feeling like I'm not giving enough or I'm being too much. And like, this is the inner monologue I constantly have. And when there's a turn, I take an action, I take a movement, I take a bonus action, I'm done. It's neither not enough nor is it too much. Like, and again, there's that like structure serving me in an emotionally healthy and balanced way. And then to your point, within that turn, I can do whatever the hell I want. I can be as feral as I want to be, but I implicitly understand when the end of my turn is.
Right. Right.
Now somebody else is going to take their turn. So,
and let's say that in your turn, in your feral state, you did or said something that might offend a fellow player. You never have. But what if you did? Another thing we love about TTRPGs, especially since 2020, I don't know when it really became a thing, but safety tools are now mechanized in a great way. Emotional guardrails, lots of, ways to very calmly and politely say, "Ooh, that's too far. I can't talk about that. I can't do that." So that's something pure. We definitely use that in real life. You have definitely X-carded me for a couple of particularly vomitrocious things.
Yeah.
Like an X card about blood.
Yeah.
Or gum.
Smacking gum in your ears can get an immediate X card. And but what's cool is like, there have been times where like I have, not with this group, but like in the past in my life where I have said something that bothers me, said a fear. There's always that fear that when you tell somebody your fear, they're then going to use that against you. Not just a fear, like I've literally had that happen. I've told people about fears and they think it's funny to then taunt me with that very thing just to get a reaction. Because listen, I know I react big. Like if you want a big reaction to something, just come over here. It's fine.
It can be entertaining.
But there have been a couple times in our friend group where like in real life, somebody has said something and not realizing like not to goad me on at all.
Right.
But all I've had to say to that friend that I now play D&D with is, hey, X card. And they're like, oh God, okay, yeah. I'll change the subject now.
It's nice.
If only everybody could be trained in the X card, because it's the quickest way to say, I'm serious about this. I don't prefer this subject. And their feelings aren't hurt. I don't have to keep talking about the thing that makes me upset. It really does work beautifully. Both around the table. Try it out. If you're listening to this and you're one of our sweet audience members that has never played a TTRPG before, and there's something that comes up in your real life that you can set a like what I call an upfront contract with someone, that like when I say the words X card, that means we just move on from that subject and we don't talk about it anymore. We don't bring it up again. We don't belabor the point and ask why. We just say, got it, and we move on. Try it. See what happens.
It's a safe word.
Yeah.
And I added one more to your list. And this is for game masters, at least for me. It touches a little bit to earlier episodes where we're looking for providing inclusivity to your table. But what I have realized is that diplomacy is not an inherent trait. The ability to shoot for diplomacy, to shoot for a compromise, a middle ground, a happy place for all, is not everybody's thing. So, and I don't know that it was as much my thing when I first started this journey as it is now. But I have noticed recently that I not only am taking something in my life that has always been important to me, the ability to listen, the ability to care about other people, to be empathetic, but also that I enjoy it. I enjoy finding the common grounds to a point, I don't know that I'm going to win any awards for being a diplomat or anything, but just, finding common grounds and allowing and being very, very aware of who is not speaking, who is not engaged, not making them feel bad about it, but saying, hey, you're up if you want. And similarly, to be able to say to people who are stronger personalities, hey, let's give this person a try. I'm genuinely not looking at you. No, not at all. No, but it has happened. Yeah. I've been game mastering with people in the last couple of years. Yeah. That I don't fault them for being super engaged. I love that. However, there does have to be, if you are neurodivergent especially, there does have to sometimes be a moderator in important things. So stepping up to that is a good lesson to learn for me.
I will say yes to all of that. I would love to give you an award for diplomacy. You win many awards for that in my book, if that
Does it come with a Starbucks card?
Yeah. Starbucks card and a tarot card.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be cute to start like mailing cards with tarot. Anyways, as you were talking about that though, it made me think part of me wonders, and this is where like the conversation for me started, right? That the awareness that Abria had in that example that I shared at the beginning of this to say, this is messing me up. I am overstimulated. I can no longer function. I have to step away and allow myself the chance to feel all of these things deeply. And then I'm going to put a time limit on it, and I'm going to force myself to feel, because that's the thing. I think a lot of times we all love to just tell ourselves like, I'm fine. We just bury it. We push it down. Yep. And this is like don't bury it, like let it out, but don't let it fester and don't let it consume is what that technique, that tactic, whatever. Right. So we have that going on. And so like suddenly the glass shatter moment for me was like the awareness of like, that's a great way to handle that. So now I can hopefully remember that the next time I need it, the next time I need to pull something like that out of my toolkit of like, take yourself out of the situation, give yourself 1 minute, 10 minutes, whatever it is, feel it, force yourself to feel it deeply, however much it hurts. Because the only way that you're going to be able to grow is to figure out how to release that feeling from your body.
Right.
And then, okay, I'm at the end of this time, this doesn't mean that it no longer affects me. I can set another timer later. You know, like I can come back to this if I need to, but, for the next hour, I have to get motivated on the task at hand. And the parallel that I can now draw to this is the difference between D&D and Daggerheart when we talk about that awareness piece, right?
Yeah.
Because I've already given, very D&D verbiage in this conversation here about like action, bonus action, movement, initiative.
I was going to ask you, but what about Daggerheart?
But what about Daggerheart?
Yeah.
So when Daggerheart, for those of you not familiar, first came out, the big like news item that before people even got to play it, myself included, just glommed onto, is the fact that Daggerheart is at its core an initiativeless system. And this is a system that has been built to give players the opportunity to interact and work together. Because that's something that many people feel is missing from games like D&D, where it's like, I can hold my action until after Matt takes his turn, but what if I want to do this cool combo move with Matt? And D&D just doesn't naturally give us the ability to do that, and that stinks. Right. So when Daggerheart first came out and it was like initiativeless system, everybody was kind of like up in arms of like, how is that going to work? There's always going to be that one asshole at the table who's going to like, I do this and then I do this and then I do this and I've killed everybody before you took a swing.
Yeah.
That has not happened. And as Matt and I have mentioned many, many, many times on this podcast, we are so lucky to be in community with some of the coolest people. And we do credit those super cool people with being the reason that it's never been a problem. But for me, it's an awareness thing, because when I am playing Daggerheart, I am aware on like a hyper fixation level. The like, I got to share the space. I got to share the space. I got to share the space. I can't do 27 things at once. I got to take a turn, and then I got to let my buddy Fitz act. And after Fitz, we'll see what Evan wants to do. And like, we're aware of it though, and we work together in that way. Whereas like when we're playing D&D, I don't have to be aware of it because I know I'm going to roll a D20 and tell you a number, and then you're going to put me into order based on that. Right. That's the thing. It's like and now I'm bringing this full circle. So we have a really cool group of patrons that we've started a new campaign with, and we went back and forth for a minute on, do we like Daggerheart or D&D more for this campaign? And we ultimately landed in, let's go D&D for this, which was the right answer, by the way. And I'm really enjoying it, the sessions that we've had. But there's this element where we're still trying to like play around with it. Mm-hmm. And now I'm having this self-awareness moment live on the camera in front of y'all as we record this, by the way. These aren't thoughts I had ahead of time. Like, we're experimenting because we want to find the fun, right? Like, we owe it to ourselves to like make this the most fun game that we can. And that means breaking rules where we want to. But some of the feedback that I had given Matt was like, this didn't work when we kind of tried an initiativeless initiative system. And now I'm realizing why, because I can't be both aware and unaware. I need. That's when I become overstimulated and I don't know what to do because I don't know if it's my turn or not. So I either need to be in a fully initiativeless system so I can balance myself in that awareness, or I need to rely on the initiative to tell me when to go and what to do. Otherwise, I just become an overstimulated goblin.
I get it.
I didn't realize why it didn't work for me until this very conversation. We worked it out here.
I love it. What then in game? What does overstimulation look like then?
And I think we've especially touched on this year, kind of knowing if you're a fight or flight person. And for me, overstimulation looks like neither of those things. I'm a freeze. I am a Miss Freezy. That inability to make a choice. When you hear me argue with myself, I think maybe that's the tell. The more of that we get.
Interesting. Interesting.
The more overstimulated I am.
I think mine is definitely your second point, which is social exhaustion and sensory overwhelm. And I am a shut down Sally. That's what I am. And yes, I will.
Sally. That old bop.
that old banger.
Sorry.
Oh no, not again.
Bless.
Yeah, I shut down. I tend to be a go until I hit a limit and then go, whew, okay, back away. Let's, yeah, I have some physical tells too. I have dry mouth. I have dry palms. Yeah, I have some of those as well.
Yeah, when you do the sweater tuck rock.
Yeah. Though I do rock pretty much all the time, whether I know it or not.
So for you, it's the sweater tuck, like, because you do this, like, let me get in here. Mine is when I start playing with my sleeves. When I start, just, it's like no part of my body can be exposed all of a sudden if, like, the hood goes up.
Yep.
Things like that.
Right. Well, okay. And so my therapist, a fantastic gentleman named Jeff, he is trying very hard to get me to realize these tells. And the reason that he is that he says that the brain is going. The first reaction to the brain, definitely not the mouth, definitely not other feelings, is going to be the body. So if something raw hits you, your chances are you're going to have a physical reaction to it before you even realize you're getting in there. So he wants to find the place where I can be aware of it sooner even than shut down or others. Work in progress.
Work in progress. We all are.
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
What does hyperfixation traps mean?
I think both within the lens of TTRPGs and then also like IRL, when we're talking about this like overstimulation, it's just like all of a sudden everything like narrows down to this tunnel vision and you begin to tell yourself, if I can just fix this one thing, everything's going to be okay. Right. And you just get so like nothing else matters all of a sudden, because it's a control thing, I think, right? Like if I can just control this one, if I can just make this one little thing do what I need or want it to do, everything else is going to be okay. Everything else is going to fall into place. But we've talked many, many times about we do not have control in this human life. We have the illusion of control.
Right.
And the sooner you give that away and say, I don't have any control. I think that hyperfixation, for me at least, and I don't speak for everybody, I'd be interested in, because I think you and I hyperfixate even differently, right? But for me, I think my hyperfixation probably stems from a control issue. It's me trying to control that one little thing. And that's why it gets all my focus the way that it does. What are your thoughts on
hyperfixation traps?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that mine is completionist the way that yours is. For me, it is so tied into the frustration of knowing that there's a billion different ways to get to the same ending. And so I get real stuck because I'm constantly trying to find the most efficient way at A to B. And sometimes that's not the way that that is not what I should be doing.
Gotcha.
The efficient way, sure. That's great. But unless it comes easily, I'm just purely wasting time.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what it is for me, because I'm just trying to hack everything. I'm just trying to hack everything and make it. I'm very, very. There probably is some RSD because I'm very, very concerned about the next developer that might be looking at the code that I've written, and I want it to be clear as a bell for them. It's, do I ever accomplish that? No, not really.
Here's what I know. A few years ago, I lived in a place that had terrible internet, and I rented it. This is important to know. And like clockwork, about every 2 months, my internet died.
Mm-hmm.
Spectrum would send somebody out. They're all independent contractors. One guy would come out. I don't know what the last guy did, but he just really beeped it up. Don't worry, I fixed it for you. 2 months later, breaks again. Next guy comes. I don't know what the last guy did.
Yep.
But, and this, like, and I kept, like, I would tell this to Spectrum, like, every single one thinks the one before messed it up, and everyone assures me that they fixed it for the final time. Yes. I think we're all out here, like, trying so hard to fix it for the next guy while beeping it up. And that is the meaning of life. And scene.
My God. Do we even need to finish this podcast? That is as beautifully put as I've ever heard it. Oh my God, the guy for the gas company came out last month and did that exact thing. The guy that just repaired, just completely renovated our bathroom in the most beautiful way. Yeah. Okay, here's the funny thing. He's probably the guy. Yeah. And he was mad at the guy that did the work. He doesn't remember. Yeah. He doesn't remember that he is the one who effed it up. Yeah. Yeah. So he's mad at himself, past him. Yep. Like, 20 years ago, but still. Yep. Oh, it's funny. Yeah. So... yeah, that's what I have to say about that. So, as we kind of like wrap this up, the final question that I asked was how we recognize and recover. And I think for me, like I said, it comes like I have to know when I'm playing Daggerheart that it's a shared, initiative and it's a dance between the fear tokens and us. And I, because I have that awareness. Just today, there was a comment that came in on one of our videos that didn't sit well with me. And like my normal gremlin behavior would be like, delete and get mad about it. And I was like, what if I just asked Matt about it? Mm-hmm. And I did. Instead of just like recognizing that awareness that like, I know as the impulsive type, my knee-jerk reaction is always to like jump on things immediately. And like, I mean, if something's actually and actively on fire, yes, put that out. But like, I'm not a firefighter. So like 99 times out of 100, whatever I'm dealing with is not on fire. Yeah. So I think that's for me it, like, back to the whole both learning what our metaphorical, hourglasses look like and saying, I'm going to give myself this space and time to feel this deeply. And then like knowing who am I to put it in survivor terms, alliances are with. Like, who's my safe space? Who can I go to and say, can you look at this with me? Yeah. It's back. I think every single episode is just going to come back to pairing and body doubling, Matt. Well, that's okay because I still don't think people understand it, how important it is to us and how, I mean, I don't even.
I don't think we understand.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I can burn through this. I can bash my head against the wall.
Yes, you and I still sit in agony over things. Yeah, knowing full well all we would have to do is call each other, Evan, anybody else, and say, will you pair with me while I do this unsavory 100%. Task? Yes. When will they ever learn?
So but you are recognizing more. You are recovering more. I am definitely recognizing more myself. The cause of this, and again, many of the episodes of ADHd20, a podcast that finds the intersection between ADHD and TTRPGs, is live working that out in front of you. And the Notion episode, the fiddling episode was a major one for me. And it to go, whoa, I had no idea. I just had no idea. Everybody else does. That's okay. That's not their responsibility. Yeah. But now when I get all fitsy, I either let myself do it because I'm like, whatever, it's fine. It's okay because I'm having fun. Or I'm like, whoa, this is uncalled for right now.
Back to the whole awareness. What game are you playing? We're not always playing D&D where you're supposed to fight. Sometimes we're playing Shadow Dark when you're supposed to run.
Oh, damn.
Sometimes finding the trap is the end of that encounter. We don't have to sit there and dismantle it. The door is trapped for a reason. There's something beyond it we're not supposed to be fiddling with.
Right.
Walk away.
Right.
Whoa.
I love it.
There's so much of
This was a really good outline, AK.
So weird. What happened when I had structures, rules, and a plan? Do other people know about this? Should we tell them?
I think we just did. But, I'm not knocking the times we don't have one. So yeah, take care of yourself, peeps out there that find themselves overstimulated. You're not alone. You're definitely not alone.
I'll tell you something that every therapist I've ever had has reminded me. And it's hard to hear sometimes, so buckle up. But it's true. You are not responsible for the feelings you have, but you are responsible for the reactions to those feelings. You're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to get overstimulated. You're going to get stressed, unhappy, and a horde of other feelings we would not prefer to feel if given the choice. Those things happen to you, but then you get to choose what you do with it.
That's true. Very, very good. Mike, officially dropped.
Thank you to all my therapists, and especially my current one, Meredith.
And thank you to you for being on my podcast. No, thank you for you for...
Matt, thanks for having me on your podcast.
Yes. Thanks to you for allowing me to make all of these discoveries myself. So
some ding dang. Queen of strength, Queen of wands energy.
I like it.
Happening.
I like it. I like that lattice work. Crisscross.
Unbothered,
jump,
hydrated,
jump.
And in our own lanes.
Yeah, come on, lane. ADHd20 is a creation from the Pocket Dimension, a multiverse where we explore neurospice,
Rolling dice,
and so much more. Come chat with us in our Discord server, open to all. The join link is in our show notes.
Ready to level up your support? Check out the Pocket Dimensions Patreon, where you can get access to bonus content, be the first to hear new episodes, and even play TTRPGs with us and our friends.
The best way you can help us, though, is just to share the gift of ADHd20 with the people that you think will like it.
We love that you're here. Thank you for entering the Pocket Dimension.